I'm a woman in my early 30s who coolly announced breaking off my marriage engagement. Have you heard that you would be treated like a sucker if you kept doing favors? Well, it happened to me. When I was in school, I was often called an oddball. Think from a young age. I had a very different fashion sense. I liked wearing unusual clothes and hairstyles. I used to alter my friends' old clothes by sewing them into a different style or cutting their hair with hairdressing scissors from my backpack. Initially, my fashion was considered strange, but over time, it became a trend. My father, who was a professor, worried about me a lot because I practically lived with famous foreign fashion magazines rather than textbooks. However, my mother was the boss in the house, so I was able to pursue my dream with her support. In fact, it is no exaggeration to say that I inherited my talent from my mother. Looking at my mother's old photos, she had a hip fashion sense that it was hard to believe she was a person in the 60s. She mentioned that she briefly modeled for a magazine while she was in college. Both of my parents had graduated from Yale University, and to hear their only daughter declare her refusal to go to college must have been frustrating for them. I certainly understand how they must have felt. However, in my case, going to college was not that important. Since, Susan, you still need to go to college. It would be great to learn professionally by majoring in fashion design or apparel, wouldn't it? My mother said that there were things that only the university could teach and wanted me to pursue a fashion-related major. It's not that I did not consider going to college. I knew that if I received professional training in college, I would be learning not only hands-on skills, but also the theoretical portion. On the other hand, my refusal to confine my uniqueness in a formalized education system weighed more. Thus, I began selling redesigned used clothing since I was a junior in high school. As more people liked my clothes, I started an online boutique under my name. As my parents watched my achievements, they supported me and allowed me to pursue my dream my way. At the same time, I graduated from high school. I rented an office to start my online shopping mall to sell the clothes that I designed myself. Of course, I didn't expect to make a profit initially, but I had losses that I could hardly even get paid for the cost of the materials for the first 2 years. But I stood steadfast, telling myself that all these struggles were the necessary process to reach a step closer to my dream. After my hard work, I finally made a big hit of an evening dress that I had designed after 3 years since I opened my business. Thanks to that, my shopping mall became known among those who preferred fancy and unique designs by word of mouth. Not long ago, the orders that were merely 1 or 2 per day became sold out, and I ended up becoming the CEO of the shopping mall with 15 employees at the age of 25. I had no obstacles on the road to success. For the next 5 years, I did nothing but work like crazy. I only thought of clothes while eating, even taking a notebook to sketch my ideas in the bathroom. I was crazily immersed in fashion throughout my 20s. Except when I attended Fashion Week on business trips, I had never traveled on a leisure trip, let alone have a date, when I approached 30 years old. Still, I had no big regrets. Of course, there were many people who wanted to set me up on a date. I just refused them all. I was so happy working that I never thought of dating a man. However, when my age changed from 2 to 3 in front, I began to look around me. My employee at my age already became a mother of 2 children. My classmates' social media were covered with their children's photos. And I was never lonely or needed a man, but I felt bitter to think that if I continued to only work like this, I may perish without having any chance to hear a child calling me mother in my life when I saw the children's photos of my friends. From that realization, I began going on a blind date at least 2 or 3 times a week, trying to look for my mate. It wasn't as if I was very picky, but I didn't meet anyone that I liked. I was thinking I was going about it the wrong way when I finally met a man. He was different from all the men I had met. He was just an ordinary person compared to all those that I had met on a blind date. But for some reason, I was attracted to that point. The ones that I had met on blind dates were all pretty famous as doctors or attorneys, and they were busy introducing their accomplishments and not attentive to hearing about me. However, this man listened carefully and reacted with empathy. From my 20s, I had lived in a fiercely competitive business world, but he felt like a warm heaven for me. Thus, I come to choose this average Joe, and he became my boyfriend, colleague, and friend to me. We dated for 6 months, and I became convinced that I could live the rest of my life with him, so I proposed to him first. Thus, we became engaged to get married. To the us until that time. I thought that a marriage was the result of two people loving each other, and I did not think of any other scenarios that marriage is not just a man and a woman, but a family of both sides joining. My parents were the ones who welcomed the news of my marriage. They had always worried about me, that I would only work to end up old and lonely without getting married. Thus how happy they must be to hear me getting married. As I was preparing for my wedding, my offline store manager called me. "Your future mother-in-law came to the store, and I think you need to come down." I rushed to the store to greet my future mother-in-law, who came without any notice. "Oh honey, you are here. Please greet your sister-in-law. It's your first time seeing her, right?" My future mother-in-law introduced her daughter to me as my future sister-in-law. "Wow, your outfit is so pretty. Could you not give me some of them as a present?" My future sister-in-law was a college student, and from the start, she followed me around like a cute younger sister. I gave her whatever clothes she wanted as gifts. At that time, I did not realize it was the beginning of a pattern. After that day, my future mother-in-law and daughter frequently came by my store for their clothes. Even though I was the CEO of the company, it wasn't as if I could give out freely any clothes, so I had to pay for them each time. Then, one day, I went by the store to check on new inventory and saw a shocking scene. In the store, my employee was arguing with a customer. "How dare a clerk like you act this way to me? Do you think you won't get into trouble for this? Your boss is the person who'll marry my older brother. So don't you dare act like this way to me." Shockingly, that was my future sister-in-law. "What is it?" he asked. "About plastic pictures? You should fire that clerk." I didn't ask for anything terrible. I wanted to take the new clothes that just came out, but she said no. At one glance, I could tell that it was a ridiculous situation, but I sent my future sister-in-law to somewhere else for a minute and called the store manager separately. She hesitated for a minute, then she told me the whole story. I heard that it wasn't the only time. She often came to the store and acted rudely to the store clerks, and whenever she came, she never paid and took all the new clothes, so it was very awkward for me. I worried a lot about this, whether to tell you about this. Even if she was my future husband's younger sister, I couldn't hold down my anger at hearing that not only did she take the clothes freely, but also was being rude to my employees. I felt this wasn't right, so I told her, "Amy, please apologize to her immediately." "Susan, why do I have to apologize to her? What did I do wrong? You saw how she acted rudely to me. Whose side are you on?" My future sister-in-law did not look sorry for her act. Instead, she got angry at me, asking what did she do wrong. Even as the CEO of this company, I do not treat my employees rudely. I have no right to do that. I won't let go of this incident like this. Especially at my stern attitude, my future sister-in-law seemed somewhat flustered. Reluctantly, she apologized to my store clerk and left abruptly. My boyfriend, who must have heard about the incident, displayed an unexpected reaction. "Honey, what did you say to Amy today? She told me that she was just looking at some new lines at the store, but you just scolded her." I heard people's words get bloated while being transferred, which proved true here. I didn't know what she said to her brother for the truth to be distorted like this, that I couldn't believe it. However, I felt I needed to make clear this time to prevent any future problems, so I explained the situation. "Your sister really distorted a lot. She was being rude to my employees, so I gave her my word. If you were there, you would have done the same thing as I did. Still, how could you scold her in front of so many people?" She came home crying, and right now, my mom is also furious about it. Why do you make a big deal out of a minor matter? Before, whenever I said anything, he used to believe me. Yet here, he only listened to one side of his sister's story, and that made me feel hurt. Then, my future mother-in-law also called me, saying, "Susan, what did you say to Amy that she is crying so hard? Was it that big of a deal to give one outfit for your sister-in-law? If you were treating your future sister-in-law so mean, it looks like you would treat me the same way a few years after you get married." I felt furious inside, but since I didn't want to fight with my future mother-in-law with our wedding coming up soon, I took a step back. It was my first time seriously considering whether I should go ahead with this marriage. Despite my inner conflict, time passed. Then big havoc broke loose with only 40 days left before the wedding. It was what made me choose to break our engagement. The date was my father's birthday, out of before he got married. I was having dinner with my parents at home, and my mom hesitated, looking at me several times. Then, finally, she opened her mouth. "Susan, I don't know if I should tell you this, and I worried a lot about it. However, not too long ago, your future mother-in-law did an implant at our hospital, but she still hasn't paid for it. Wait, maybe if she has been busy and forgot to pay, I'll call her later. I introduced my mother's dental clinic when my future mother-in-law was looking for a dentist for her implants. However, I told her that we would give her a significant discount, but not for free, since she hasn't paid for them. I felt uneasy because of the previous incident with her daughter. I called her. Mother, I have something to ask you. You're getting the implants at my mom's clinic, right? But I heard it hasn't been paid yet, so I wonder if you forgot. However, my future mother-in-law's reply was ridiculous. But I thought it was free since you referred me to your mother's clinic. Did you intend to be paid? I guess the rich people are worse. How much could that be that you demand payment? At that moment, I became so angry that I was going to say something, but my mom grabbed my hand, stopping me. Never mind. Your mother-in-law must have misunderstood. Let's just consider it as a gift to her. My mother said it was okay and tried to console. Tried to console me, but I felt it wasn't right. They were being just too much. Yes, of course, we could do her implant. However, she should have discussed with me properly about the payment. Her daughter comes to my store and takes stuff freely, and now my future mother-in-law comes to my mother's dental clinic for free implants. It might seem to others as though something must be really lacking with me to have to pay up just to get married. I couldn't let it go like this, so I went straight to my future in-laws. Future mother-in-law, who talked to me angrily before, greeted me as if nothing had happened between us. You've come just in time. I was going to call you about the wedding gift. Your mom must be very busy preparing for the wedding, so she probably has no time. So I prepared a short list. So my future mother-in-law handed me a sheet with a full list of things to buy. When I looked at it, I was astonished. She had written Hermes to channel brands that didn't seem like a list of wedding gifts but a luxury brand product name list. When she said it was a short list, I couldn't help but laugh at it. My future mother-in-law continued. I could no longer hold on to my rational self. Oh, by the way, the condo that you are living now, how about it to change the title to be a joint with Frank's name on it? Since you would be the head of the household, shouldn't you do it to save his face? When I heard her demand, my head went blank. It wasn't a marriage, but it seems that I had to beg to get married with a bundle of money that I couldn't stand it any longer. I can't stand to hear you because you make me sick. Mother, do you think of me as a fool to do it this way just to get married? What kind of attitude is this? Are you saying that you will break your engagement? Tell me, is that what you're saying? My future mother-in-law seemed shocked at my reaction. Their eyes trembled. Then my fiancé, who said that he was too busy to attend my father's birthday dinner because he was working late at his company, opened his bedroom door and suddenly appeared. Honey, what kind of talk is that? How could you talk about breaking our engagement for merely things like that? Were you at home when you told me that you were working late tonight? Also, do you think I'm acting this way just because of the wedding gifts? No, actually, I was tired. My fiancé realized that he got caught with lying to me and could not finish his sentence. Do you know that your mother and your sister came to my store almost every day taking clothes? Still, I try to be understanding because they are my future in-laws. However, how could she expect not to pay anything at her in-laws' dental clinic? When I said that, my future mother-in-law glared at me and blurted out as if she was shocked. Didn't I tell you earlier that I went because you told me to? Of course. I assumed that it would be free, and how could I think that they would charge their in-laws? I couldn't believe her thick face. I was stunned that she assumed that it would be free. I think she thought being my mother-in-law was some kind of high title. In my rational thinking, I couldn't fathom her gall. That day, I clearly told you how much discount we would give you, so what are you talking about? Also, on March 8th, you came to my store with your friends, and why aren't you paying for all those clothes that you took? My manager told me that you gave one outfit each to your friends that day. I thought you brought them to raise sales for me, but you told my manager that I told you to take clothes for free. Explain to me, when did I tell you that? That seems that my mom wanted to brag about her daughter-in-law to those she was grateful. So, do you have to get paid for that? My fiancé intervened to say that if she wanted to thank those she was grateful, she should do it with her money. But why was she coming to my store to do her bidding for free? Like his mother, like her son. Both thought the same way. Never mind. I want to be paid for all the clothes that your mother and your sister took from my store, including the implant fees. So, mother, you should know that. You should have some conscience. I chose a man, even though he had nothing but for the sake of love. But it seems you love my money and my family's wealth, isn't it? I must have been crazy to love a man like you. Frank's mother-in-law spat at me with her face red, angry after hearing my words. And did you just say that my son was nothing? I can't believe this. It's you who have nothing except money. You're a mere high school graduate, and how dare you talk that way? This is why ignorant ones show their ignorance. If you break your engagement at age 30 and being only a high school graduate, who will take you? If you beg for your forgiveness, I'll forgive you this once. Really, I couldn't stand it any longer. Madame, please wake up. Should we put up our names to a marriage matching site? Do you want to see whose scores are higher? You shouldn't worry about me. Just worry about your son. What are you talking about? What's wrong with my son? You don't seem to know the reality because you have only graduated from high school. For someone with a college degree and driving a Benz, it is not that common to find. He can't be compared to you, who can be that financially able at this age. Did he do that on his own? Is he driving a Benz? I could only laugh at her words. You don't seem to know your son at all. He's a mere clerk at a small company. How could he afford to drive a Benz? He begged me that he wanted to ride a Benz, so I bought it. But it seems he blabbered around that he bought it, hasn't he? At that moment, my future mother-in-law's face got distorted. My fiancé rushed at me, trying to stop my words. Honey, you don't need to say that. Could we go out and discuss this over, please? What do you mean, let's go out? I don't have any more business with you after today, so I won't end it here. Just give back my car keys and the studio that you are living now. So move out and pay back the money I paid when you moved in. Herpsack, like an old saying that a person who farted gets mad at the ones who hadn't, my future mother-in-law became angry and shouted at me. A person like you almost became my mother-in-law. Just get out of my house. I also wanted to do that, but we haven't settled on the bills. The implants and the clothes come to $3,200, which hadn't been paid. So by the next week, please wire the money to my account. If you don't, I'll call the police. Consider this as my notice. At that moment, when my fiancé realized that he would lose everything, he collapsed on the sofa. My future mother-in-law came to a realization too that she held on to me begging. Darling, I'll pay for the clothes and the implant. I must have lost my mind getting a wealthy daughter-in-law. So let's start over and forget what happened today. No, thank you. It's too late. I now learned the truth about all of you. So how could I proceed with this marriage? You don't need to be sorry and live as you have. But know that you have ruined your son's life. I pulled away my future mother-in-law's hand and left their house. I was sick to my stomach when I thought that I almost sold out my life on a wholesale. That's how I got rid of the leeches that were stuck to me and came back as a shining single. Love is good, but to me, working is the best. Through this experience, I learned one lesson. I thought that giving without any condition was love, but it wasn't. Some people take advantage of generosity. From now on, I won't give away like a fool. After I broke off my engagement, my dad was relieved that we didn't become a family with people like them and comforted me. My mom said that Frank's mom had the gall to come to our clinic to get the balance of the treatment even after I broke off the engagement. I hadn't handed it to her. Honestly, my desire to get married disappeared completely. Awaria makes appearance. I dreamt of it from looking at people around me, but it's too early for me. After this incident in my life, I really didn't need a man. Someday, unless true love comes to me, I just want to love my work at this time. Thank you for listening to my story. Please cheer for me and write your comments of wisdom in the comment section. Pressing like and subscription is a big help to me. Have a wonderful day.